Welcome back, Buccaneers fans, to another episode of Here the Cannons, presented by BucsGameday.com, Sports Illustrated's one and only website strictly dedicated to your Tampa Bay Buccaneers. My name is Caleb at CHSNO on X. I am a writer and reporter here for BucsGameday. With me, as always, is River Wells, our lead editor at BucsGameday.com, at River H. Wells on X as well. Football's back, guys. Finally, we've made it. We are in the final, stages of the offseason until we get into the 2025 regular season. Super excited. I can't wait to join you guys. I unfortunately still am on a 9-to-5 job, so unable to make it out there with you guys during the week to training camp, but I am going to be there this upcoming Sunday. I'll make it to Tuesday night's practice and then the following Saturdays as well. I am super stoked. I'm ready to get out there. I've been itching for it. River, how's it like being back out there at $1? What's it like seeing the guys now putting pads on? I don't know if they were just in shells or if they had any pads on at all.
No pads on today. Probably Monday is our target for pads, and then it's really going to get good.
Sure. So it'll pick up as we continue through training camp, about 2-3 weeks or so. So
yeah,
you'll get a good glimpse of what the Buccaneers are kind of going to look like as the season progresses and as they head into it. So without further ado, man, let's go ahead and get into this thing. Deion Sanders, a surprise guest at $1 place.
Kind of a surprise guest. Yeah, we knew he was coming. We just didn't know when. But
okay. I didn't know he was coming.
Yeah, Shilo mentioned it in a YouTube video. You got to say, Caleb, you got to stay up to date on Shilo's YouTube channel. Come on. What are we doing over here? Now, he mentioned it on a YouTube channel video, and it makes sense because I believe in a few days he's got Colorado conditioning going on. So I think he was here in Tampa Bay to watch Shilo. Saw him today. They were with Deion Sanders Jr. walking around. He sat in the shade in the back practice. Great idea, Coach Prime. And then I think he'll probably go to Cleveland to see Shepard at some point, and then I think he's right back to Boulder to do his conditioning and his initial work with the Buffaloes again.
Yeah.
As the season kind of kicks off, so it was nice to see him there. Shilo playing with the threes today, so take that how you will with his chances of making the team. But he was playing with the threes today a little bit, got some reps in there that his dad was able to watch, but it was prime time, baby. It was prime time at Bucs training camp. I mean, what more can you ask for?
Yeah, I saw a video of him, chatting it up with head coach Todd Bowles there on the sideline a little bit. Todd was like, "Oh, it's nothing different. It's just like if any of us were going to see our sons practice for the first time or whatever it may be."
And so, Todd Bowles' son plays linebacker at Michigan. Go Blue, by the way. So, we'll see how that goes.
Yeah,
maybe he will be at a Michigan practice at one point. You know.
Exactly. So I mean, not they didn't make too big of a deal about it. Obviously, the players, the coaches, everybody knows who Coach Prime is.
Hall of Famer.
Prime time Deion is. So like that's in and of itself great. Awesome to see him there, kind of mixing in with everybody else along the way. Interested to see what kind of those conversations were, even though I doubt we'll kind of get a glimpse into what they actually are or were. But yeah, I mean, going to see Shilo working there with the threes, I wonder if that was based on the fact that his dad was there or whether or not that had an impact on it at all. But very cool to see, Deion at $1 place. I know we all have our own legends that we appreciate seeing all the time, whether it's Eric Brooks or whoever it else might be. But cool to see Deion showing up in Tampa Bay for sure. But we'll keep it moving. Here, some injury updates, not very many updates. I know we do know that David Walker, the 2025 NFL draft pick, was back today, which is good news. But we did get some, enlightening information when it came to where Tristan Wirfs is kind of at. Probably some more context to that injury and the surgery that occurred, as well as Chris Godwin obviously being placed on the PUP list. So if you don't mind starting for me here, River, what does the PUP list ultimately mean? Everybody just automatically thinks that once they're on that list, they're out the first 4 games of the year. But if you don't mind, break that down for us before we get into some of the other stuff about these injuries.
Yeah, so it's called the physically unable to perform list. You go there if you are physically unable to perform, uh, as the name's pretty apt. You go there during training camp time, and you can be activated from the pup list at any time during camp. So there's nothing forced that happens when you get there initially. So Tristan Wirfs and Chris Godwin are there. It does not mean right now they're missing any games. It means that they are on the physically unable to perform list because they can't perform. Tristan was in crutches today, still at practice, and I imagine Chris Godwin was back in One Buck Place getting his rehab done for his leg. So they're not at practice. They can't practice because they're on the pup list. But if they're deemed ready at any point, they can be taken off that pup list so that they can be ready for the season. So that's how, if that were to happen, then if Tristan Wirfs wanted to come back week 2 or week 3, he would have to be taken off the pup list before the season starts. Now, if you're on the pup list when the season starts, you do have to miss the first 4 games. That's when week 1, the deadline hits. If you're still there, got to miss the first 4. So if Chris Godwin is still there, if Tristan Wirfs is still there, once we get to that beginning of the season, then they would have to miss those first 4 games. But Todd Bowles has kept mentioning that he's not entirely sure what the timeline is for Chris Godwin, but he's hopeful that it can be sooner than later. And he also had an exclusive interview with Joe Bucs fan and Ira Kaufman over there. And he mentioned in that interview, he mentioned week 1, 2, and 3 for Wirfs, which is better news maybe than 4. But it should also be known, too, that Todd's not a medical expert. But, the team is. So he's kept in the loop as to what the possibilities can be and could be. But, whether or not that's definitive is up to kind of your interpretation. But that's what the pup list is. And Wirfs and Godwin are in danger of potentially staying on that pup list by the time week 1 rolls around.
Yeah, and that sucks. I mean, we've written about it. If you guys haven't already, go over to BucsGameday.com. All this information is over there, written digital content there for you guys. And we truly do appreciate you reading all of our material and content that we do throw out there. But yeah, I mean, it's a little bit of interesting tidbits, coming from the quotes from Todd Bowles and, that exclusive interview with JoeBucsFan.com. So I'm hopeful. I think I wrote in a piece the other day that I'd rather than be healthy, later in the season. I don't think you really want to push it, early on. You're not going to win a season. You're not going to win a Super Bowl in your first 4 games. That's just really how it is. But some other guys, before we get to these other guys who are potentially injured or dealing with something else, illness-wise or whatever it may be, D's on here, jumping in live. Let's go. Thank you, D, for tuning in. You try and do it every single week. We truly do appreciate it. Thanks for the training follow-up.
Appreciate it, man. Yep.
So if you guys haven't already, here's a little shameless plug. River and our founder, Logan Robinson, we're out there at training camp. Each and every day they're at training camp, they're going to be doing an instant reaction on that day. So if you guys haven't already, we're not going to dive deep into everything that happened. We'll obviously give you guys the high-level observations that we're seeing on the day. But if you want all the intricate details, all the little plays, things of that nature, go back on YouTube, type in BucsGameday in that search bar. You'll be able to find it underneath there. It's just day 1 training camp. Pretty much is what it says. Short and simple. And if you guys are watching anywhere other than on YouTube, if you're watching on Facebook with us right now live, if you're watching on X with us right now live, please head over to YouTube.
Stop doing that. Go to YouTube. Do it.
Plain and simple. Just plain and simple, cut and dry. Head over to YouTube.
Simple.
Like the video. We live off likes, guys. So if you guys can get us to 50, which we try to do every single episode, that would be great. While you're there, if you
do, I live like to like. Yeah,
a lot to like, right? Like football is right here, guys, and we're going to be here providing you the best coverage out there for Buccaneers fans. So head over to YouTube. Really, truly do appreciate it. Click that subscribe button. Click that notification button. You'll be alerted every single time we're going live. But without further ado, River, let's keep talking about some of these guys because there's some other notable names that are not necessarily going to be starters. One could be, and another, depending on what happens, could either not be on the team or be in a practice squad role. Who really knows what's going on? But we'll start it with Anthony Walker, the free agent pickup this offseason from the Miami Dolphins. Out. What can you tell us about his deal?
Yeah, so we actually talked to Todd Bowles about this today because there are a few players that are kind of like that. And as far as Anthony Walker goes, he said he's week to week. and I believe it's a knee injury. He's on the non-football injury list. But he said it's week to week, which means that before training camp ends, you'll definitely see him out there, I think. Some other injury updates for sure. He said Desmond Watson is probably day-to-day. Desmond Watson is on the non-football illness list for his weight. So he's not quite at the weight level that the Bucs wanted to be at yet, but Todd Bowles said he's making progress in that area and they're still working with him. So he did mention he's day-to-day with that. And then Greg Gaines is reporting, not participating, but Todd Bowles also mentioned week to week for Greg Gaines. He's been missing for a little bit in mandatory minicamp and OTA. He's not quite sure what he's dealing with, but he is week to week. So I think by the time training camp ends, you'll get a lot of these players back.
Mm-hmm. And the good thing overall at this point, it is just the overall health and nothing serious, right? Like it seems like everybody's going to be okay. Everybody's going to be coming back. Nothing serious. Knock on wood. That
proverbial wood
is going to happen the rest of training camp. Hopefully it stays that way. We don't need any more injuries. We happened to go through that during the regular season last year. So let's just stay clean bill of health, get better, see what we got, and then we'll go from there. But I find the Desmond Watson thing very interesting. We knew that coming in, right? Like, obviously, he's not going to be able to play at this weight. He actually got in and immediately, was working towards that. Dropped, about 20-something pounds or so. And the expectation was like, hey, he's keeping on this. He's taking it very seriously because he knows he's not going to be able to play in the NFL at this at this size. I find it very interesting that not much progress has been made since those times. Either that or he's right on the verge of maybe reaching that point of where the Bucs feel comfortable enough.
Which would make day-to-day make more sense. It is interesting, and you have to keep in mind that at many levels of his football career, there's been this thing that if you can get him down to weight, he could be an athletic freak. He was an athletic freak at Florida. His ability to move despite being that big is incredible. But every team that he's been on has kind of wanted him to trim down, and so far they haven't been successful in making that happen.
Yeah.
So the Bucs could be day-to-day in making him get off that NFI list, come to the practices, get some reps in, and we'll see how his journey continues from there. But, he's still pretty big, so not quite where they want him to be at this point, but that could change very soon.
I think an interesting aspect of that, too, is it's like, you think about like losing weight, right? Like you want to be working out, you want to be doing this. So it's very interesting that he's not doing.
Yeah, I'm not sure what it is, and I don't want to speculate too much about what that could be in regards to food or health or something else. But yeah, I mean, he's played football, he's ran cardio, he's lifted the weights, he's run around, and it's still not happening. So eventually, it might get to a point where something really has to happen there. But for now, they're taking it day by day, like Todd Bowles said, and it looks like he could be close to rejoining the team.
I mean, let's hope that's sooner rather than later, especially for his sake. But moving on, let's get to the juicy stuff, River.
The juicy stuff.
Football's back.
Saw
some interesting tweets about returners. That is very interesting. Some guys back there that potentially could have been, a surprise to some people. Some obviously not so much. And then if you guys haven't already, head over to BucsGameday.com. Check out River's recent post that he puts up after every training camp on the 3 big observations that we were able to see. So River, go ahead, break those down for us, and then we can get into anything else that you were able to witness out there today that might be fascinating to the fans.
Yeah, if you've been keeping up with training camp, you've been keeping up with some of the other great local outlets we have here. You would have heard that Antoine Winfield Jr. had a hell of a day, and it's because he did. Takeaway Tweez came back in full force. He was everywhere. We talked to Jalen McMillan today, and he said that Antoine Winfield is like a ninja on the field, which makes sense in the way that he can go in and out and hide. But he had 2 interceptions, and not only did he have 2 picks, he had them back to back. He had one where Zion McCollum was in coverage against Mike Evans, and Zion got the PBU, the pass breakup, and the ball flew in the air, and Antoine toe-tapped it like a wide receiver and came down with it. And the very next play, Baker Mayfield kind of looked to the left side of the field and threw a ball, and Antoine was right there waiting for it. So he got 2 back-to-back. Big day for the defense in general, especially with turnovers. Bryce Hall recovering from basically the same exact injury that Chris Godwin had, and he suffered in week 1 against Washington. He had a pick, so he had a takeaway there as well. I mentioned in my article that the pass rush was looking pretty strong. Haason Reddick is a marvel to look at in person. He gets off the ball so quick. He's so explosive. So he looked really good. And then Yaya Diaby was, again, no pads yet. So the offensive line can't really fight back in many of these instances. So once the pads do get on, they'll have a really good chance to do that. And Todd Bowles also kind of mentioned today after practice, he said Charlie Heck right now is our left tackle, but I don't actually know what he looks like in pads. So I can't definitively say that because I need to see how he looks. So that's how big of an advantage it can be for these defensive ends. So take this as it comes. Yeah, Diaby got in the backfield quite a bit. And David Walker got doubled once or twice because he had a pretty strong get off there. Wow. So it's pretty impressive from the rookie out of Central Arkansas. So I think that's pretty good. And that's something that you want to see early on in training camp, a little early, just shorts and shirts. But be interesting to see where it goes.
Yeah, and going back to Charlie Heck, playing left tackle right now for the Buccaneers, they also brought in George Fant, not Noah Fant, for those who are confused.
Noah Fant is currently trying out for the Cincinnati Bengals because the Bengals really need a better offense. That's what's going to get it. That's what's going to make it happen for them. Yeah, it's been so bad these last 2 years, man. They really got to get the offense going.
Yeah, it's really what's hindering them from, being.
It really is, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
That's the big issue. But George Fant coming in,
the other Seattle Seahawks.
Yeah, George Fant coming in, working out for the team yesterday, looking at a depth piece perspective, probably not going to be the starter, looking like Heck is going to be that guy. And then the Bucs also brought in Chris Hubbard today to do a similar workout to what George Fant went through yesterday as well.
There you go. We did it.
It's too easy to mess that up.
Same team, same last name.
Yeah, it's tough. So
one of them has to change, I think. Yeah.
Somebody has to go change their name. Like that's the only right answer.
Legally, even. Yeah.
But obviously the Buccaneers, looking at depth here, with the uncertainty that is surrounding Tristan Wirfs and his rehabilitation from this minor knee surgery that he had just a few weeks ago. So any details on those two guys? I don't know if you've gotten any insight from coaches or any of the other players on what might happen there.
No, I don't think so. They're bringing him in for a tryout, and these could be good veteran options to either push Charlie Heck in camp. I wouldn't anticipate any of these guys coming in and taking that starting spot because this is what they signed Charlie Heck to do, right? In the offseason, swing tackle. Yeah, I think his number got called a few months, maybe a year earlier than he thought it would, but that's what's happening. So he's got to be ready and prepared, and he's out there taking those reps, and when the pads come on, I can show what he's made of. But these veteran options aren't bad, especially as insurance guys that could push Heck and then also be there in case something happens. You don't want to get too thin there depth-wise. So guys like Hubbard or Fant could come in and maybe compete, but also serve as some good depth there for that room. So haven't heard about them signing any of these guys, how it went, yada, yada. Fant was not there today. So clearly they're not signing him. They might sign Hubbard later, but I think this is Charlie Heck's job to lose right now, and he's going to get a chance to prove his worth more so when those pads come on.
And I think it's probably a good thing that he's getting these first team snaps right now too. I'm glad that this is the way that it's gone instead of this. Like he's getting second team reps all throughout training camp, and then something happens to Tristan early in the season, and then he's coming in and having to compete against the top notch players in the league. Trying to block Baker's backside, and you don't really want that to happen. So I love that he's going to be able to get this time to work with the ones, kind of gel himself along that offensive line unit that is probably one of the top 10 units in the league at just offensive line play overall, which was it Cody Mauch that went out there and said that he believes that Tampa Bay has the best offensive line in the country.
That
so
was Cody Mauch, yes.
So yeah, I'm good. I'm glad on that. You said the defense had a great day. Good to see that AWJ is picking up where that all pro form was a couple seasons ago. Hopefully that carries itself and continues as we go. Good to see that Dion's involved. Good to see that Bryce is coming back from that injury and looking good. I know it was to end practice, but still, good takeaway for him. Great to know that the defensive line is getting pressures, albeit without being able to get held a little bit by the offense without having pads on.
Yeah. Luke Gedeke refers to it lovingly as playing in your underwear when you're alive. So once the pads and shells get on, it'll be a little bit easier for them to get their lick back.
So. That sounds like typical, something so typical that Luke would say. So totally understand that. But yeah, great to see that. Great to see that David Walker as a rookie is getting double teamed on plays as well. Little quick thing here. Anything from the linebacker core at all?
Nothing special today. You got Lavonte David's back out there. He didn't participate in OTAs or mandatory minicamp because he's earned that. Savastia Dennis is there as well, and especially with Anthony Walker out right now, he's getting some more reps there, so that'll be good for him. So nothing particularly standing out on day one, but day two is tomorrow. We got the fans back in the house, and that'll kind of add to the training camp energy. Yeah, in a good way. So maybe some of these guys can feed off of that and start making some plays.
Absolutely. And then I know we touched a lot on the defense. Today was a defensive day. Always great to see when the defense is doing well, especially after what we witnessed last year and last season.
And once the pads come on and the team kind of gets more into Josh Gazard's intricacies, you'll start having some offensive days for sure. So
okay, yeah, that's where I was going to go next for this. Is what were you able to see from the offense today? I know it probably wasn't a whole lot due to the defense dominating, but what were you able to see from them today? Did anybody particularly have a good catch? Because I know last year when we were going through this, it was just like watching Jalen McMillan just dazzle all.
Yeah, Sterling Shepard had a catch that it's going to be tough to dethrone this catch as the catch of camp. He had a double bobble concentration grab. I'm not sure if you remember. It was either OTAs or mandatory minicamp when Deion Jones had a very similar interception where he tracked it with his eyes and brought it down after a bobble. Similar thing, but this time it was Sterling Shepard that came up with the grab. Really good concentration, veteran catch, proving why he's got a place in this room despite it being ludicrously stacked. So that was pretty fun. That was probably the biggest highlight of the first team-ish, second team-ish. I can't exactly remember who was the quarterback at that point. It might have been Kyle Trask. But there was a touchdown. It was a deep ball touchdown from the third team. This was Connor Bazelak out of Bowling Green. Absolutely launching one to Ryan Miller, who, if you guys remember Ryan Miller from last year, the touchdown that got the Bucs in striking distance of the Kansas City Chiefs last year was Ryan Miller's catch. So he's still out there contributing. Unfortunately, with how stacked our receiver room is, I don't think he's going to make the roster, but he had a nice play.
Yeah. So, cool. And I'm going to butcher his name, but the Bowling Green kid, he's the dual threat guy, right?
It's hard to tell in training camp because when you run, it's kind of like, oh, the play is dead.
Right.
So, yeah, tell in that case. But he is there. Connor Bazelak is there because Michael Pratt is usually QB3. He is on the PUP list. We don't know why he's on the PUP list. We can't see any visible slings or casts or anything, but clearly he can't throw a football, which leads you to believe it could be an abdominal thing maybe, or something with the throwing shoulder, but that he's not wearing something for it. We're not sure. He's not participating, so Bazelak has still been able to stick around here. Like under ordinary circumstances, had Michael Pratt been available, Bazelak probably would have been cut after rookie minicamp. But no, he's still around. He's still making some throws and still getting some reps in there, which is cool.
Yeah, and I know we're in day one, so I'm not going to try and get into the thick of the weeds of things, but I do want to know, and I'm sure everybody else at home is wanting to know as well, where are we seeing Jalen McMillan and Emeka Egbuka fitting in on the offense thus far?
Well, the big question is with Chris Godwin, right? If Chris Godwin can come back by week 1, which they've said a few times, but Caleb, you wrote an article talking about Jenna Lane at ESPN, who does great work. She mentioned that he had a second procedure in the spring. The more you hear about stuff like that, the fact he's on the PUP list, which is to be expected, but still in conjunction, you begin to wonder if he will miss the first 4 games of the NFL season on that PUP list. If he does, I would wager that Emeka Egbuka will slide right into his slot. Quite literally, I think, slot, get it. I'm here for the next 5 minutes, folks. Once that happens, you can have Jalen McMillan on the outside, kind of where he played last year. So nothing explicitly changes in that offense. McMillan gets to kind of get to that position he's used to. And then Egbuka gets to slide into that Godwin role. And he's a very Godwin-like player. He was in college, big yak possession guy, really good at finding the space in the defense and exploiting it like Chris Godwin was. So in that respect, I think that's where they'll slot in. And we could be seeing that combo going for 4 games. And even if you get Godwin back earlier than 4, so he's off the PUP list, but he still might miss a game or 2, you might have to lean on Emeka Egbuka pretty significantly. Maybe as far as week 1 against the Atlanta Falcons, which is going to be a huge division game, which sucks because week 1 is full of both teams trying to get their footing and trying to see what works. Except now you have to do that with a divisional game on the line. The Bucs won't play any other divisional teams until like the way back half of their season.
Yep.
So really weird little schedule quirk that's going to make that back stretch really important. Which means, yes, you, viewer at home, you can still watch the Bucs barely scrape by to get an NFC South title once again if they manage to that backstretch. Well, but they're hoping that doesn't happen again. They want to just take care of business. Going to be tough without guys like Chris Godwin and Tristan Wirfs, though. So all depends on Chris Godwin, who they signed to a 3-year, $66 million contract in the offseason. We might not see him for the first 4 games after that.
Yeah.
So we'll see how it goes.
And everybody likes to get caught up in XYZ, wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2, wide receiver 3 conversation.
Yeah.
I think when it comes to the Bucs offense, though, that is kind of almost obsolete because Godwin is your wide receiver 2 on any regular basis, but he plays in the slot, which is kind of considered a wide receiver 3.
It is, and I would counteract. I know you're not actually saying this; you're just talking about people who do. I would say a lot of the best receivers in the NFL are slot guys.
Yeah.
Right. Devontae Adams makes his bank in the slot.
Right.
Amon-Ra St. Brown makes his bank in the slots and all pro.
Cooper
Kupp very famously. I mean, the position in this Bucs office is called the Cooper Kupp role from Liam Cohen, and that's what Chris Godwin played. Justin Jefferson, believe it or not, even takes quite a few snaps from that area. So to be a great receiver in the NFL, you're no longer really relegated to being an outside 50-50 guy. And in these new West Coast offenses, which the Bucs now run, this Shanahan McVay style offense. Liam Cohen got it from Sean McVay, and Josh Guzard got it from Liam Cohen. Now that Godwin slot type becomes so crucial in these type of offenses to find that space in the defense in that short to intermediate range. That's how a lot of these offenses make their bank now. And so it's crucial for a guy like Godwin to be there. He was on pace for an incredible, maybe career year last year. And now Emeka Egbuka gets to slide right in there if Godwin's not available, and he's got to do the same thing.
Yeah.
So no pressure, but
no pressure, but
there's pressure. We're gonna keep it a buck. There's
right. Yeah.
So that'll be interesting, and hopefully Chris Godwin can get back sooner than later. But if he can't, and the vibe, I think, and this is really just vibes, guys, because we're not in the rehab center. But the way that the reports that come out and where Chris Godwin's at and where he's at his rehab, I think the vibe's kind of getting closer to maybe he's going to miss the first 2 games of the season. So.
Yeah, and it goes back to the rumors that were circulating over the summer or early in the summer about him potentially suffering a setback, which we weren't able to really expand on during the time because it
Yep.
was at that point rumors, and then we got a whiff that it was true, and now it's been confirmed through multiple different sources that this is the case. It's tough. It's one of those things where you hate for it to happen, but these things do happen, right? So it's unfortunate, especially when it's an injury such as this. I mean, you can even go look at, I'll use Jordan Travis as an example. Whenever he dislocated his ankle in college at Florida State, before getting snubbed out of the playoffs there, and then never was able to get on the field with the New York Jets, not even to practice because of the amount of damage that had happened to his ankle. So,
Yep.
hopefully that's not the same for Godwin. He's able to come back.
Right.
People do come back from this injury, but sometimes the body doesn't, answer to the rehab or whatever surgery happened. And that was what happened with Jordan Travis. And, that's something that hopefully Godwin's able to get back on the field. All signs point towards that still being the right way, right direction to go. Short little setback. Hopefully he's able to come back. Again, temper expectations there for when he is back, because we do remember when he came back from his ACL injury, he wasn't quite at full speed in the
These things take time. Tristan Wirfs will be the same way.
Yeah.
But of course, having an all-pro and then a potential all-pro guy is better than not having that. So getting them acclimated is the way to go. But you would hope sooner or later, but Bucs got to prepare for life without them, because that's football. And the best teams in the NFL have these problems, and the best teams make it work anyway. So we'll see what happens.
I hate to beat a dead horse, but next man up, like that phrase is probably way overutilized.
That's crazy. I've never heard that before. Did you make that up? Did you make that up, Caleb?
Yeah, I should trademark it.
Wow. Man, I think coaches should start saying that all the time. Yeah.
But luckily the Buccaneers did their due diligence. Were able to get guys in depth and be able to fill these roles that needed to be filled. And I have a very positive feeling that things should work out the way that they're supposed to. But with that being said, guys, that is our day one high-level observations. We talked a little bit about Deion early on. We talked a little bit about through the injuries. Those observations from training camp day one without pads, as I was told by River today. Tomorrow, River.
You better believe me.
It's
true. There wasn't pads.
Yeah. I saw River did have the bucket hat out today.
I always have that thing on me. And you know what? It wasn't that bad today, the heat. It wasn't that bad. But, guys, it's going to get worse. It's going to get way worse.
And you're back out there tomorrow.
I'm going to be there for every second of it. I will.
Yep.
There comes a point at like the middle of practice where you can feel it actively getting hotter in live time, like watching a plant grow, kind of. And that's not fun, but football's fun. So excited to see what it brings.
I got a fun question. Does Todd have the big flag up right now or no?
You know what? I haven't seen it up, or I didn't recognize it, at least yesterday, but it may have been there, and I just didn't notice it. But I say it's definitely going to be there because now we have fans coming in, officially starting tomorrow, and who doesn't want to see the big flag, man? So usually I was told by the Buccaneers, officially, on the record, the reason they don't have it up all the time is because it's huge, and so it tears very easy. Because it's just a massive flag, and if you keep it up all the time, it's susceptible to wind and tearing. It's training camp season, guys. We're gonna put the flag up. We gotta have the flag up.
I'm still under the assumption that Todd likes to play games with people and likes to take it down so they don't know if there's a breeze or not.
Yeah, because of course, for those who watched Hard Knocks, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, Gerald McCoy famously said, "If you can see it flowing, it's gonna be a good day, and if you can't, it's gonna be a bad day." So. Now in recent years, they've all been bad days, but it's it's getting, hopefully maybe towards the end when we get into fall, it gets a little better. It won't, but hopefully it does. And then we got a night practice though. So
indoors of all things, but
indoors, no air conditioning, still better than the alternative. So we will be doing night practice, I believe, on Tuesday, next Tuesday. I think it's night practice.
Yeah,
so,
absolutely.
And then Wednesday we'll be here recapping not just one day for you guys. We'll be recapping a bunch of days. So make sure to check out our training camp recaps after every training camp. It's usually 3 days on, 1 day off. And then so you can get all the latest right after training camp when it happens from me and Logan. And then Caleb will be a part of these videos, of course, whenever he is there on the weekends. And then every Wednesday you can come here and we'll try and summarize what we got for you and kind of give you the inside scoop as to what's going on at Bucs training camp. So stick around.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. That was a great log off. But just
thank you.
Just to note, we've got about 4 more months before it starts cooling off here in Florida. So we're in for the long haul.
Let me dream. Let me be delusional.
Yes, sir. I will. But with that being said, guys, we want to thank you as always for tuning in to Hear the Cannons presented by BucsGameday.com. My name is Caleb, writer and reporter at CHS Null on X, with my lead editor and writer at BucsGameday.com, River Wells at River H Wells on X. Thank you guys as always for tuning in. And with that being said, River,
fire the cannons.
Fire the cannons.